Assalamu alaikum. In this video, I just want to talk to you a little bit about my long COVID story. And some of you might think that, okay, this is not what this channel is really about, but actually, I've decided that I will also talk about my life in this channel, share some things about it, especially when there might be some benefit to some people watching. And since unfortunately, long COVID has been a huge part of my life recently, I want to talk a little bit about my story and the treatments that I decided to do currently. Uh, and it's also important because long COVID has affected so many people, is affecting so many people. It's thought that anything between 10 to 30% of people who have COVID, they have these lingering symptoms later on, or health problems and or new symptoms popping up that as a result of having been infected with coronavirus. And it affects, like, although like my content is mostly more for Muslims, it affects both Muslims and non-Muslims alike. And sometimes that I've something that I've noticed also in the Muslim community in general is that, especially towards the beginning of the pandemic, people were not really taking it so seriously, or like just rejecting it altogether as just random flu, nothing to worry about, doesn't really affect you. But even myself, I wasn't like really taking it as seriously as I should have. I was traveling during the pandemic, and that's actually how I caught the virus. And so basically, in my case, I was first infected around October 2020, so over 1.5 years ago now. And it wasn't too bad first. It was like kind of like flu symptoms, fever, just generally feeling unwell. A couple of things that I didn't have experience, I hadn't experienced before was like really strong joint pain, really weird kind that like didn't really allow me to sleep sometimes, and also loss of taste. So it wasn't anything too bad. I didn't have to go to hospital at the time, but I noticed that like I didn't really like the initial phase. It passed, and I like got rid of the joint pain, and I think I had some fever that went away, and got my taste back, sense of taste, and it seemed like it was going away first, but then it's like a few weeks later I realized that, okay, like some stuff is still there, and I'm still fatigued, and like it wasn't really that I had actually got better. There were some like lingering symptoms, and started looking into it more, and I realized that I have long COVID. Some people also call it post-COVID syndrome. And first I started, dealing with it, changing my diet. I cut out all sugar at some point. I was also taking different natural supplements, but I didn't really see much improvement. But at the same time, it wasn't also that bad. I was able to still work at the time. Now I haven't been able to really do proper work for almost a year, pretty much a year, except for like really some minor things. And it 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 wasn't like it was maybe getting like a little bit worse slowly, but it got a lot worse the next summer. So like last summer, that was 2021, and that's also when I was like physically more active. Me and my dad had just started this small, really small paddleboard renting business, because he has a place near a really beautiful lake. Hopefully, sometime in the summer when I go back to Estonia, I can show you that place there, and it's really beautiful. Uh, So I went crazy with that, with the paddleboarding. I really like enjoyed it. I also did a lot of swimming that summer. So I was kind of more physically active, and I still had the fatigue, but I was kind of trying to push through the fatigue. And that's also like, somebody thinks that or wants to tell me as an advice that, like, okay, maybe you should be more physically active, and your problems will go away. But it won't. It only got worse, and it's actually what happens normally with when people with long COVID try to push through their fatigue with more, like, physical activity, more exercise. So it's really not the right way, or at least in most cases it's not. Maybe in some cases it does help. uh, but I didn't really know at like I thought maybe, it's because of this intense physical activity. I also met one really nice guy I knew from childhood, and he invited me to play some volleyball. Played that twice. It was really intense. I haven't played for years probably. Although, like, in my teenage years, that was something like my main thing, like the main sports that I would do. I would say that's pretty much the only sports that I was really really good at. And Yeah, so it was kind of intense physically. But I also got my vaccines around the same time. I got my first vaccine in towards the end of May 2021. Next one early July. And it's only later that I realized that it's probably the vaccines that kind of made my whole situation worse. So there's probably some vaccine injury involved as well in my case. It's quite common actually with people with long COVID. Like, some of them have got actually better after vaccines. Some of them have gotten worse, which is my case. And when it comes to vaccines, I do want to say that I'm not like entirely against vaccines in general, especially, like, other kinds of vaccines uh, that are like really important. Uh, but with the COVID vaccine, it's not really as black and white as some people want to make it as. Like, there's like two really extreme sides. One says that, like, the vaccines are really bad, nobody should have the COVID vaccine. Then the other side is like, everyone needs to get vaccinated. That's the only way. I really believe that, the middle ground, moderation is the key here. Because in some cases, I do believe that the vaccines have saved lives, especially with older people, or avoided them from having really severe symptoms or really severe infection. But on the other hand, there's definitely people who have had their health pretty much messed up because of the vaccines. So I think in my case, the mistake was also to do two vaccines. Maybe one would have not been so bad, but since I already had COVID and I did the first vaccine 8 months later, the second vaccine was probably too much. And that's also what they officially say now, that you should only have one vaccine, like 6 months after the initial infection, and only the second one if there's like a huge necessity for some reason. But yeah, I wasn't really told that. I was told quite differently at the time, that I should do the second one anyways to get more protection. And why I did the vaccine in the first place, why I decided to do it, was because I didn't want to get reinfected. I was really scared that I would have to go through the whole long COVID thing from the beginning, or it would get worse even. So that was my motivation to do the vaccine. If I knew, I mean, if I could go back and not do the vaccines, that's what I would do. Because, like, I'm pretty sure that that's also what made it worse for me. So let's talk now about what have I decided to do after things got worse. So I started looking into other ways I could get better. And at the time, they had just started quite recently, like, experimenting the H.E.L.P apheresis treatment on long COVID patients, long COVID sufferers. Started that in Germany, in Mulheim, uh, and now basically like the same people, the same doctors are also like involved with starting this long COVID center here in Cyprus, where I've gone to just one treatment so far. And basically, the science behind that. Hopefully, I will also add like a link to the description with some more information. There's a good news story, BBC news story about this treatment. If anyone wants to know more about it, but basically, what it does is that long COVID patients, basically all of them seem to have microclots in their blood, and this treatment, how it works is that it takes your arm out, not your arm, it takes your blood out from, say, that's one of the symptoms that I have, the brain fog. You mess up words sometimes. I forget words, forget names. That's also what working has been such a struggle. So basically, I like this H.E.L.P apheresis treatment. It takes your blood out from one arm, it runs it through a machine. That machine separates your blood plasma from your blood, and it treats it with heparin. And heparin, what it does, it helps destroy those microclots, and it also fights with, like, takes out some of the other pathogens, and it also binds with the spike protein of COVID-19 in case there's some left in the system still. And then this clean blood plasma comes back later with your blood back to your body. And yeah, like doing that several times supposedly. In some cases it helps just with 1 or 2 times, but when you've had the condition long COVID for a longer time, especially for over a year or more, sometimes it requires a lot more treatment sessions. Hopefully I will do maybe 4 more, and we'll see some improvement. After the first one I didn't really see anything or feel anything different, but supposedly it's quite normal when you've had long COVID for as long as I've had it. Another thing that I'm doing here in Larnaca, Cyprus, that I just did, I had my first session today, is called HBOT treatment. It stands for hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And how that works is basically there's this big chamber where you go in. There's like 2 rows of seats. You sit there, and basically it kind of is like a simulator, like imitates like a dive. When divers go underwater, it makes it like there's a pressure that is created in there, which corresponds to like 10 meters underwater. And during that, when the chamber is pressurized, you are given oxygen, 100% oxygen to breathe. And what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to help, like with the pressure, to reach, for the oxygen to reach to those places in the body that it normally doesn't. It reaches to the cells that have been damaged also, or have been deprived of oxygen because of all the microclots that have stopped the oxygen from reaching with blood to all the necessary places. So it helps these cells regenerate, gives them a new life, sort of. And yeah, it's another thing that I'm hoping to do. I hope to do more sessions, but it turns out that I can only do 2 per week, when I also have the apheresis treatment the same week. I hope to do more. I wanted to do more, but I was advised against it. I was told to slow down. I need to give more rest to my body in between the treatments. And so yeah, we'll see, like, if I can stay here for longer and do some more treatments later, or maybe I will find another place, maybe closer to Estonia, where I can do more of these HBOT treatment sessions later on. So yeah, basically that's my story with long COVID. There's a lot of people out there who are dealing with this, so there's a good chance that somebody is also watching this has or is dealing with long COVID, or at least knows somebody who is who had COVID and is now still struggling with some health issues. So my advice to those people is to not lose hope, to look into ways how you can get better, and yeah, don't stay alone to suffer with this. Try to get support from your family, your friends, and also like the family and friends of people who have long COVID. Also like try to show like hopefully you already are showing a lot of compassion and like being supportive. But what a lot of the people are facing, what I've seen in the long COVID support group, is that sometimes the friends and family are just saying like stop complaining about it, stop being lazy, you're just being tired, everyone gets tired. But it's really not like that. It's like you can't push through this tiredness. It just you wake up after like 8 to 9 hours of good sleep and you feel exhausted. Just having a small walk makes you so tired. Some people have this like really serious shortness of breath. I'm experiencing like right now like a little bit of that. I have to take some deep breaths sometimes when I speak, but sometimes like people have it so much worse. People come to these treatments as well in wheelchairs, but in some cases it doesn't really show, and people are still feeling unwell and dealing with this fatigue. So having the right support also is really really important. So yeah, basically that's my story. I hope that it will somehow benefit somebody who is also dealing with it. Maybe give some ideas for treatment options. uh, I will inshallah make more updates as well later on about how this goes here. I will be staying here for at least another 4 weeks, and yeah, hopefully like these treatments will start helping me a lot soon. Well, that's it. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are. Take care, stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.